Hello everyone. My name is Tish Harper, and I am excited to moderate today's panel, SOC Around the World, a global SOC perspectives. We've gathered a panel of SOC leaders from around the world to share their perspectives, experiences, and tips and tricks for successful global SOC collaboration. Before we dive into it, let's do some brief introductions. Rwanga, can you start us off?
Hi, my name is Veranga, and I'm joining today from Singapore. I've been working in any roles related to SOC for last 14 years. I started as an analyst, became a security engineer, became a SOC manager. Currently, I'm working for Ensign for Security Singapore. We operate from all the way from North Asia to ASEAN to Australia. Currently, I'm in the business of building designing, building, and operating security operation centers for dedicated clients.
Awesome. And now we'll pivot to Erica.
I'm Erica Smith. I'm located in Maryland, United States. I'm the Managed Security Services Director for Cybermax, and I lead our global SOC.
Awesome. Thank you. And finally, on our panel, Mitch.
Hello, I'm Mitchell Mellard. I very much like Marenga. I came up through analyst, security SME over the last over 10 years in cybersec, and now I'm currently the threat intelligence consultant for Talion.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, we have a really high energy and a lot of information packed in today's panel, so I just want to jump right into it. SOCs are a 24/7 operation, also 365, we all know this, and they've changed dramatically in the past 10 years. As hybrid working itself has changed much of how SOC work gets done, and SOCs have become increasingly decentralized and also globalized. What are some of the significant shifts that you've observed as this has occurred? We can start with you, Erica.
The first thing I would say is that we're able to tap into a wider talent pool as a result of the shift, which has been amazing. And it allows for a more flexible work schedule and better work-life balance. It assists with that.
All right. How about you, Ranga?
For me, it has changed the way that we manage the SOC as a whole. There was a time we created built a SOC in 2020, and from the day we started, we basically managed everything remotely. We have never met for like 2 years until we finally met the whole team in a single place in 2023 after the COVID situation got better. So the main difference that I'm seeing is how to give that the purpose. What is our purpose? Because when we work remotely, that became quite a challenging situation to get everybody to join that purpose and also give them the idea of what is the impact of the work that you're doing. So if you make a mistake, what is going to be the business impact on the customer side? So these were some of the major challenges that we had while we are operating under the remote working setup.
All right. What are your thoughts on this, Mitch?
I think it's going to be a bit of a kind of go through theme for this entire topic in terms of how SOCs have changed over the last X number of years, definitely since 2020 and the pandemic kind of mandated everyone to take a very different business approach. But that's also, as the other panelists have alluded to, opened up a lot of doors for us in terms of recruitment, in terms of hybrid working. Gone are the days when, for a SOC, you need to physically show up on site. As someone who a little bit jealous of new analysts, to be honest, as someone who used to have to show up for a 7 while 7 night shift to a secure building and go through, swipe through X number of checkpoints and sit there with just 2 other people for 12 hours. It's a very different culture now because you can do all that from the comfort of your own home. There's more checks and balances and software which allows that to be more of a possibility. But that's also changed the culture significantly. So that's something that we have to square in terms of recruitment opportunities, but also keeping the culture of the SOC intact.
Awesome. I want to expand on that culture aspect. How do cultural differences impact SOC operations and collaboration in like different regions? How do you ensure consistent security practices across different regions? I'll leave this open for anybody that wants to take it.
I guess I'll go on that one because it's very much the easiest for us in the UK. I
Of
mean, not
course.
not strictly part of the EU anymore, but still with all of those rules and regulations with GDPR, the regulations imposed by the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Officer. It's very easy for us because our standards are in many ways the most draconian. So everyone else has to, by nature of collaborating with us a lot of the time, abide by our standards. And so I apologize for that in a roundabout way. However, yeah, it does make it kind of a non-factor to us, but it's building those relationships with other countries. But cybersec itself has largely just become a culture in and of itself and has accepted that, even if other industries in other countries don't meet those regulations. Cybersec professionals, more than any others, seem to understand the need for them.
All right. Erica, do you have thoughts on this?
I agree with Mitch. I think that, we've all, in collaborating globally, we've all had to adhere to the strictest compliance requirements. So it does make it kind of, easier to know where everyone needs to be at or what that standard is.
One major thing that got impacted heavily because of this new setup was the continuous service improvement culture, or the CSI activities, because we used to have like very quick discussions on problem solving. Everybody gets together, we get into a whiteboard and we solve the problem. I think that was impacted heavily. We utilized different ways to how to bring people together. In 2020, I started a war room for one of our SOCs. Then everybody started doing it. Everyone that we're having, it's a 24/7 war room. And after almost 3.5 years, that war room is still running. And it's created an environment similar to what we emulated what we did in office. We had whiteboards that we can share, and from analysts to SIM engineers to SOC developers to SOC manager, quality assurance people, threat detection engineers, and reporting analysts, everybody jumps in. So there's an answer is immediate. Every question that you have is you get the answer within 50, maximum 1 minute. That's an amazing feat that we achieved during these troubling times.
That's a great idea.
I was about to say, do you have like a copyright or a patent on it? If not, just email it to me, because I can find a lot of usage for that. That sounds like a wonderful idea to maintain communication in a very consistent manner. I absolutely love that.
And we even expanded it to region. We started with one SOC, then we expanded it to all the other SOCs. If someone has a question, some expert is always available in that war room. So 24/7.
That's beautiful.
That should help with standardizing too, ensuring everybody has the same perspective and handle situations in the same manner.
And I can also see how it would be really, really helpful to someone that's in a training perspective or someone that's new on board. Because think about the vast amount of resources that you have available to you throughout your entire shift. That is really awesome. Okay. Having said all of that, it seems like how training is done has changed. And maybe it's a global thing as well. Distributed SOCs have introduced challenges to things like training. What have you all seen? Mitch, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Sure. It's definitely introduced some changes and challenges. Obviously, the main advantage, as Erica alluded to before, is the increased talent pool. You can go more outside your geographical area, or if you're not a hybrid SOC, if you're a purely remote SOC or you have some of those roles, you can just reach across the world, which absolutely opens it up. However, prior to this, it was a very different culture in terms of training someone, especially with a SOC analyst. You're not really giving someone just a set of facts to memorize and regurgitate. What you're training is more of a state of mind, an investigative mindset, and what they will do when they come across a certain piece of data. Does this exist in a certain context? Is it suspicious in the context of this client, of this network, in the context of what's going on around it, web traffic wise? It's more of a state of mind that you're trying to impart. And while you can do that online, and there have been leaps and bounds in the kind of methodologies for teaching people through online screen sharing, webinars, things of that nature, that I found there are very few substitutes for sitting next to an analyst and talking them through the actual process and showing them your train of thought in person. Obviously, that's not always possible, but I do think you can get the best of both worlds. And if possible, a hybrid working approach enables you to, at least during the training of that analyst, have that one-on-one FaceTime that is so valuable when you're imparting that investigative mindset that's necessary for this role. But then later on, as that analyst becomes more confident, becomes more secure in their way of working, they can work from home more and more quite comfortably.
Agreed. How about you, Erica?
I think it's allowed us to utilize additional tool sets that allow us to do more on-demand or self-paced learning and incorporate things like cyber ranges to enhance skill sets.
And any thoughts from you, Varanga?
My main challenge would be when you have, especially in ASEAN, you have a bunch of countries that are so close, but they're culturally diverse. Regulatories are different, and you have completely different way of looking at different things. Like I might be able to get someone from Philippines and Thailand and Indonesia and Malaysia. They might be looking at the same incident, and you might get like different outcomes, slightly different outcomes. So although the hiring is really available, like we hire across the region for our SOCs. We have some clients that open up for that kind of requirements, and some clients say, I want in country. So when it goes beyond the borders, that's where your challenges like language, culture, and how you communicate, what is considered as polite, what is considered as rude, it clashes quite a lot. So there are a lot of soft skill problems that we came across. Number one is being polite. So in a meeting, in the region that you're in a meeting, they consider as asking a lot of questions is a little bit rude. So I had to break ice to get them into a culture of asking questions, being curious, questioning everything. That was one of the biggest challenge I had. It took me so long to get to the point that we are here today.
Wow, I can sort of understand that because one of my personal challenges was I'm impatient sometimes. So if I'm working on something and I want to ask a question, my go-to was just to get up from my cubicle, run to the person that I wanted to ask that question to, have them show me how it's done, and that was it. Being a remote and having everything behind a screen, you'd send a question, you would ask a question, and then you're there, and that little ding, 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 ding clock is ticking down, and you're like, can you answer my question? Are you going to answer my question? And then it gets increasingly annoying because I know you're online, so can you get to my question? I just want to figure this out. I want to get this done. That's been my challenge to training. I feel I'm more of a let's meet, let's talk, let's try to figure it out, or let's throw up a Zoom and let's stay here all day and let's do that training. But again, just like all of the challenges that you've all expressed, we are all different in our own learning patterns, and it's not going to work for everybody the same way that it's going to work for me. And I just want to pivot a little away from challenges, and I want to go into something a little bit more stringent, if you'd like to say that. How do you manage compliance? Compliance. I know, I just had to ask. How do you manage compliance with varying data protection and privacy regulations across regions? And I'm not going to have Mitch take the first one because we know you are in the mecca of compliance. Everything is a walk in the park for you over there. Let's start off with you, Ravenga.
Okay, so as I mentioned, in Indonesia, we work quite a lot with FSI clients and large conglomerates. So regulated versus non-regulated is a question. So we have complexities like we have Monetary Authority of Singapore, Bank Negara in Malaysia, OJK in Indonesia, Thailand has its own thing. So what we did was we collected all the compliances, and luckily for us, we have some good analysts, like the geopolitical analysts, and they bring everything together. They created us a framework. So when I'm gathering requirements, when I'm designing, when I'm building a SOC, I embed the best practices and more strict as possible. So it's across the region. Everything is a standard. So we created a quality assurance model. When the day one or the project team hands over to the operations team, we do one level of quality assurance. Then once the operations team start running the operations, we do a SOC assessment, periodic SOC assessment, and also we do a quality assurance program. So our baseline is embedded from our processes to our workflows. Everything is embedded. This is the solution that the closest solution I can think of so far, the one that's practical. So it's not only going to be the design aspect or the operational aspect. Then the way that we got out of this whole situation is the concept of audit ready SOCs. So when we are getting ready for a SOC, we should not be SOC managers or the analysts should not be running around. Where's my process? Where's my evidence? Instead of that, we have a team that work across all the SOCs that does the assessment, work with the SOC manager, because SOC managers usually don't have time for this kind of work. They usually push it down the line, say that I'll get to it when I get to it. Yep. So I have a team that works across all the SOCs, gather that information, collect that evidence, structure it in a way. So when ISO 27000 audit comes, when the client's external audit comes, we have everything ready for the client to be presented. And we call it the program audit ready SOC.
Oh, wow. Sounds like you have it pretty much covered from top to bottom, A to Z. Erica, how does this work for you?
I agree with Waringa that the compliance requirements have to be built into the process to make them something an innate part of the analyst's work day to day. But we, again, like Waringa and Mitch, we end up having to adhere to the strictest compliance requirements as you build that into the process. So you ensure that every other compliance requirement is met along the way.
All right, and now Mitch, let's hear from you.
Very much, as the other panelists have said, you just build it into your processes, and because sometimes things like an ISO 27000 audits such as this and their frameworks that underpin them, they can be a little bit esoteric, a little bit lawyerified for an analyst who is just there to investigate security incidents. And so as long as you make it part of the tool set, as part of the process, then there can be absolutely no chance of straying from those.
Right. Okay, this has all been so informational and resourceful and impactful, but I wouldn't be Tish if I didn't ask for some juice. Give me the juice. Can you share like a specific example of a successful cross-regional SOC collaboration? What made it work? I need some stories. Who wants to go first?
For us, since we use a follow the sun model, I don't have a specific example, but our investigations start with an alert and we work on that investigation until it's complete. So if we're not finished at the time the analyst is scheduled to move on, we would perform a warm handoff to the incoming analyst, right? Because we want to make sure that the investigation doesn't stop at 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. in whatever local time it is. The investigation stops when it's complete. So that would be how we would continue to incorporate globally until a thorough investigation has been done.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I have a story about it because we, under my organization, we have around 7 security operations centers that runs across the region. So some SOCs runs like really like well rubricated engines. Some SOCs, because of either it's a client is regulated, they tend to become a little bit slow, or it could be a cultural thing. skills thing. So what we did was every time all our sessions were moderated by managers. So we thought about what if we remove all the managers, SOC managers, and the technical account managers from the conversation? What if we bring all our analysts together, our most skillful people together, put them in a single forum, and just give them like freedom. So we call it analyst work group program that runs across the our whole operational SOCs, and they came up with really interesting stuff. Some of them picked up research, some of them picked up use cases, some of them picked up automations, some of them picked up gap analysis. Quite interesting to see how people from different they were serving different clients, so they're coming from complete different backgrounds. Some of them serve banks, some of them serves tech giants. So outcome was amazing when a manager is not there, but we had a situation where we had to measure after 6 to 8 months, we saw a dip in the efficiency. So we had to implement a way that they govern them by themselves instead of introducing a
Mm.
manager to that forum. So they started governing themselves. So they start evaluating what is the outcome and also presenting it to the wider team. So they just want to make sure that their freedom is protected in that forum, but they also show value to the business.
You gained a lot of results from that. That is great. Mitch, let's hear from you.
In terms of cross-SOC collaboration, the biggest kind of examples that I have are from the big incidents that I'm sure everyone still has kind of flashbacks of dealing with, whether it be the what happened very recently with CrowdStrike, or whether you go back as far as 2017 with the big WannaCry incident, especially
Ooh.
something that is global like that, when you have clients in various different industry verticals as well as geographically scattered over the entire globe, it can be a challenge, especially clients of a bigger size tend to have their own smaller internal SOC as well that you have to collaborate with, that may have more kind of localized tools for resolution and things such as that. The most amusing one that I know of is very much for 2 weeks after WannaCry happened, after having this 24/7 war room set up across all of the regions that we operate in, we still had one left standing machine that was infected somewhere on a client's estate that we were unable to resolve. And the actual collaboration that was going back and forth between those two SOCs, the ideas that they were throwing out where this machine could possibly be hiding, was absolutely phenomenal to see at the time. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the most satisfying of resolutions, because we found out what it was when a drill bit was brought up from the bottom of the Bering Sea, and it turned out that was being lowered under the ground as WannaCry happened, and no one could find the machine and resolve it because it was hiding under the ocean. But that was a very it was a bonding experience between the two SOCs when that finally kind of was brought back up, and then it was resolved, and we found out, oh, drill bits can run on an older version of Microsoft Windows XP. The more you learn.
The more you learn. I love the way that you all individually answered this question. Erica brought us like a nice serene story. Oranga gave us hope. And then you just hit the nail in the coffin with, hey, let's bring it back to reality. We're in a threat-induced industry. There's a threat landscape here. This is what we're here for. This is what we do. So we have that nice little moment where you have the baby in your arms, and then we get to the toddler stage, and then we get to the teenager, and which leads me to asking, how do you stay ahead of the evolving threat landscape and share threat intelligence globally? Who wants this one? Haranga, you?
I can start with that one.
Okay.
So I think the role of the SOC as we play today, I think it's a little bit outdated, because when it comes to an incident detection, incident has happened. So that's the time that we are taking the action. We are just detecting something that has already happened. It's just like looking at the stars. Supernova has already exploded, and we are just witnessing it later. So I think it's really important to the move with the because DevSecOps team, the DevOps team, TechOps teams, they have already started working on shift left movement. It's time that we SOC get involved in the the shift left movement, where instead of just waiting for a detection, we need to start looking at violations, major changes that's happening in the environment, identifying changes like things that happening can be related back to misconfigurations. And we have to actively work with the TechOps team, the DevOps team, the product engineering team to patch them much earlier. I think this is one way that we can bring the value of the SOC quite like early, because when no incident, all the CISOs are being questioned like, where's my ROI? Where did my money go? The second item would be we need to have focus. I have a feeling that a lot of SOCs are paying a lot of attention to managing their own tool sets, so they lose the focus of threat detection. So instead of threat detection, they're managing a SIM. They're trying to like, oh, they are the police of like, don't run that query because it's too heavy for my SIM. We have to move away from it. We need to bring our focus back to the threat detection part. Then I have a third item that regarding the future of the SOC. SOCs traditionally are being seen as a blocker to the business, and we have to change that mindset completely, because we have to be the business enabler instead of the business blocker. We have to embed ourselves into the business discussions, understand what the business is doing, because if the SOC's job is only about detecting threats, they will write the SOC right off, and the budget is going to be lower and lower as it goes, because it's being as a opposing force. So we have to talk to different business units, align ourselves with, are we detecting the right thing? Is our use cases valuable to you? Then get the feedback from them. Can we automate some of their pains away since we have it? So this is my current view of what we supposed to do over the next couple of years.
Thank you for that. What are your thoughts on this, Erica?
I think in order to stay abreast of the latest threat intelligence, it's important to have the threat intelligence team, the security researchers, come in and speak to the SOC and talk about what they're seeing in their environments, and as well as having the incident response team come in and speak about what they've seen in their recent engagements. It's important to continue that ongoing education for them so that they not only see what they see from the detections themselves, but they learn about the new stuff that's coming into the environments.
Thank you. And you, Mitch?
Very much in alignment with what Varenga and Erica just said. The threat intelligence kind of portion of the business being my current bread and butter, it's number one, keeping your analysts ahead of, as was just said, what the current threats are, what's developing, what's in the landscape. If it's something geopolitical, especially in the case of nation state actors, the TTPs that they are both currently employing and the things that they are moving towards, so that you can catch emerging techniques. But the threat intelligence team also has a responsibility there to kind of keep on top of things that are under development, something that there may not be an active proof of concept for yet, but we've seen nation states either experimenting with, or in the case of more often Russia, subcontracting it out to their criminal elements. But it's very much also, as Ruanga alluded to, keeping the clients apprised of how it's a necessity of the process. Because if you just say to the clients, we're being reactive, we're playing keep away, but we don't really see things coming until it's too late, you're just being reactive. Threat intelligence is the most proactive part of the SOC. And it's the analogy I always use when speaking with clients is, anyone who tells you they can see 100% of threats coming towards your estate and you can just pay X amount of money and never worry about it again is lying to you. However, there's still a massive value proposition, because threat intelligence is, let's say you're on a beach, you have an X amount of windbreakers that you can array around your position, and it's a windy day. Threat intelligence is your weather vane that you can plant in the sand, and you can see the direction that the wind is coming from. It enables you to place your resources where they're most cost effective and where they will get the best bang for their buck. So yes, you might not catch all the grains of sand, but it will be a lot better than if you would just place them randomly or just equidistant and leave gaps. A lot of people can be tempted to just go for, oh, what are the most products we can buy for this amount of money, rather than considering the geopolitical environment and the current threat landscape that they exist in, arraying them in the most efficient way possible. And that's where a good threat intelligence posture comes in.
Absolutely. I love that analogy.
Sure. Can I add something to what Mitch says? Like it triggered me like one of my thoughts. So we started like training our analysts, SOC analysts in offensive security. Basically, like anyone above like a alert operator and security analyst, we want them to be trained on offensive security. So if you don't know what you're looking for, you might not find it. Kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
Indeed. That's why things like capture the flags are so valuable, and other such engagements where obviously you will have different analysts at different levels of their journey in terms of where they are in level of sophistication of attack, that they can look at the logs and distinctly say, yes, this is that, I've seen that before. But teaching that mindset, teaching them what the actors do is invaluable, because if they've done it themselves, they can damn well recognize it a lot more quickly and a lot more assuredly.
Agreed. If you're looking at a log and you can realize like, hey, this is session hijacking, or this happened because of SQL or something like injection or something like that, I think it is really, really resourceful to have that person on your team. But think of how much easier our lives would be, or think of how valuable we would be if we were actually taught that, or a bit of that was incorporated into our SOC training as well.
I think it highlights, why it's imperative to have cross team collaboration, right? Because you get that information from the threat intelligence team, you feed it back into the SOC, it then also gets fed back into where the detections are written as well, so that not only is the SOC aware of what they should be looking at, but we're writing better detections to catch what we're seeing in those environments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on the future of like a global SOC collaboration, Mitch?
Moving into the future, I think it's just going to become more and more decentralized, as we've that's been the common theme through all of this. There's the SOCs of 10 years ago. There's the secure room that you go in and you leave everything at the door. And now it's where we all are, probably either in our living rooms, dining rooms, home offices, and then you're operating and collaborating with the other members of, whether you're part of a company SOC, whether you're part of an MSSP. This is the new norm, and we have to plan around that. Luckily, I think InfoSec doesn't have as many challenges as other businesses when it comes to overcoming this, because Cybersec is a bit more of a culture in and of itself. Cybersecurity professionals, I think, are more aligned than other technical disciplines that are cross-cultural across different regions, because we have things like the alignment of policy frameworks, and we have to adhere to things such as GDPR. We already face those challenges together, and therefore we already have that shared experience. And at the end of the day, we're all looking for the same thing. It's all just very much, these are the bad guys. We're kind of like police, but we don't get the satisfaction of the collar 90% of the time. We can identify exactly where a threats come from. We can say, this is who they are, this is what they're doing. Very rarely do you get to put the handcuffs on in this business. However, you do have the satisfaction of protecting your client either way. And that is a common thread that kind of connects us all.
It does. Erica?
I think cybersecurity is applicable to everybody, and I expect to see, more and more companies dipping into the talent pools in other regions. And I think we're going to see a greater focus on privacy and compliance as we continue to do that. As we continue to evolve, there'll be a greater focus on staying abreast in any new regulations, because they're coming out all the time.
Rowanga?
I'm seeing more and more organizations looking at more fusion type of a center instead of a security operations center, where they want the security analysts to work with fraud analysts, they want to work with the compliance, they want to work with the risk. So I'm seeing the collaboration level. There are two levels of collaboration. One is collaboration among the SOCs. I think more and more SOCs they are releasing their detection code online in their GitHubs for everybody to that level of collaboration is getting much, much better. compared to like 10 years ago, where everybody tried to hoard their detection capability. As Mitch mentioned, now I think people are realizing who the real enemies, who are they we are protecting ourselves against. The more the numbers, better. But then from organizational perspective, we are seeing more and more fraud operations, know your customer type of KYC type of operations. We are seeing the collapse of all those operations into a SOC, because SOC has become, we are data aggregators. We can create wisdom, and we are advancing with the technology. So I'm seeing this collaboration happening at two levels. First level at across SOCs, and the second one is among multiple functions within an organization.
Yes, I think they're now realizing the sharing is caring part. If we all come together, work together, we all have the same common interest. And that's great. As somebody that's new to tech, I can't imagine what it would have been like years ago when everybody was gatekeeping. Because the reason that I'm able to successfully do a lot of things now, it's due to people sharing with me, or everyone sharing with me their knowledge and their resources. And I'm actually really super grateful for that. And I also want to let you guys know that we are almost nearing the end of our session. I know, I'm sad too. I don't want to stop talking about this. It's so much fun. Would you like to leave us with any final thoughts? Is there anything that you forgot to say? Anything that you'd like to add? I'll leave the floor open for whoever wants to take it away.
I can start. So there's something that everybody has been like jumping on a bandwagon, which is a SOA bandwagon for a couple of years now. Some of them come to a point like now we have to ask the question ourselves: is our ROI there? This is a big question I ask myself all the time. Because our idea was to, when we got that tool a few years ago, everybody had like wide-eyed, thinking of blue skies and rainbows. Or I will be able to automate everything. I won't have an L1. I will not run a 24/7 SOC. Those are the dreams I had. But a few years later, I'm still running a 24/7 SOC with people. So like the couple of challenges that I'm identifying is, just buying tools or the best tools in the world will not make your SOC the best SOC. Is the thought process and the people behind it. So one of my dream is to get rid of, like, completely remove the L1 requirement, so all our analysts can start looking at upgrading themselves, doing bigger and better things. I think we need to really have a hard look at the processes. I think we are so busy with doing the work, like we are being busy about collecting data, creating use cases, managing audits and all that. We forget to look at our processes. If our processes are straightforward and we can write it down, we can start looking at minimizing the resources. Because I'm sure Erica and Mitch both, we are facing a shortage of talent. And if we keep at this rate, everybody will be fighting for the limited talent pool that everybody is having. I think we need to change our way that we look at how to utilize the SOA in a better way, and really get to the point that what the CISO security program is targeting on. This is just my current thoughts that I'm going through.
Thank you for that. Any final thoughts from you, Erica or Mitch?
I would like to just say that since we're here for SOC Analyst Appreciation Day, I wanted to say to all the dedicated security operations professionals out there that your hard work and vigilance are the backbone of our defense against these ever-evolving digital threats. And you stand as the first line of defense, often working tirelessly and without recognition behind the scenes to keep our systems secure and our data safe. So thank you for your exceptional efforts. Your work truly makes a difference every day.
Thank you so much. And Mitch?
I'd very much just like to agree with Erica there. Like, back in the day, someone who came into the business as an analyst, there can be that element of feeling like you're on the coal face and there is this Sometimes, either if you're in a small company, sometimes monolithic company structure above you, that because the analyst is typically one of the entry points into cybersecurity, that there's this huge many-cogged operation that you are the smallest part of, but in reality, the most vital part, because threat intelligence feeding into nothing if there's no analyst there to digest it and then apply that to their work. The infrastructure that underpins a SOAR, a SIM, all the technology that makes detection possible, content teams that research and work with threat intelligence teams to write that content. None of that serves any purpose if there isn't anyone there to do the day-by-day detections. So yeah, I think that's fitting with it being SOC Analyst Appreciation Day. If I was to say one trend for the future, that it would continue moving in that direction after, obviously, we've had this big move to remote working. I think the next big step is going to be clients being, at least very much what we've been seeing, is being more bespoke with their requirements, and very few people just want an off-the-shelf SOC product anymore. There's more, some people, because they're either trying to justify costs, they're trying to justify levels of access to their C-suite members, looking at hybrid SOC, looking at staff augmentation, looking at, some people have regulations where data can't leave the company if it's in particular sectors, or it can't leave the country. So they want to operate their own SIM, but they don't have the expertise or the need to keep staff on 24/7. So they just want talented investigators and professionals and SOC analysts who can just remote in and perform that investigation for them. And that is a service that a talented team can provide in addition to the usual bells and whistles of an ongoing 24/7 SOC. So I think we're going to see a lot more modularity and a lot more customization in what a SOC is expected to provide going forward.
See, and then we can also coin ourselves versatile analysts. I like that.
I think 2024 is the best time to be getting to a SOC, because life is much better. You have knowledge, access to knowledge, you have tools, really good tools for at your expense. And I think we need to promote joining security operations centers more and more. And I cannot thank enough for the analysts that made all these things possible, because for any security operations center, your differentiation is the quality of the analysts that you have.
Wow. And it looks like, judging from the conversation we had today, globally, we're headed in the right direction. We're about to wrap up, but I have one final question, and I want to leave you guys on a high note. What is one dish from your country that you can suggest to our viewers to have if they visit?
Oh no, you're going to make me defend British food.
Listen, you have compliance on GDRP, so
I mean, it's famously, like, black pudding is lovely, although most of the people around the world would see black pudding and say, if I was to say something distinctly British, get yourself a nice Yorkshire roast dinner. I'm biased because from Yorkshire, but honestly, our best foods are things that we've things we've stolen. So great curry houses all throughout the UK. There's a reason that the tikka masala is considered our national dish.
Thanks. What about you, Erica?
I'm going to have to go with barbecue.
Okay. Rwanga?
Can I choose three? Because Singapore is like the food hub in ASEAN. I cannot select one. So if you're really, like, if you're not really good with spiciness, go for chicken rice. Mm-hmm. If you're okay with some level of coconut milk, go for laksa. Mm-hmm. It's a noodle-based one, a soup-based noodle. And if you are really adventurous, go for chili crab. And make sure you eat durian if you ever come to Singapore.
It's sweet, but not sweet smelling.
It's not for everyone, I know.
All right. I am also originally from Trinidad and Tobago. It's a tiny little dot on the map with some of the most amazing food you can ever try. If you go down there, I would recommend you get something called doubles. Easy to remember, leaves you with a taste in your mouth that lasts forever. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been impactful for me. This has been resourceful. This has been a wonderful conversation. And I hope you gained a lot from it, as I have. I want to thank our speakers. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Mish. Thank you, Rowenga, for your time, your expertise. I want to thank our listeners. And this would not be possible without Devo. Everyone behind the scenes that's working hard. Special thanks to Jackie and her team for bringing this vision to life. This is us signing off for SOC Analyst Appreciation Day. Bye.